Oh, there we go.
Live.
It says live. Well, hi guys, it's Nick with another reseller chat, and I'm here today with Vinny, who I have literally just met online. So do you want to say hi, Vinny, and say who you are and where you're from?
Okay, I'm Vinny. You may have seen me on my YouTube channel. I live in Cornwall in a little town called St Austell. And so that's kind of me and where I live. Like Nick has asked me to come and do this hangout, which I'm quite nervous about, but I'll give it my best go.
Cool. Yeah, there's nothing to be nervous about. It's just me and you, and maybe a few potential 1,000 people online. Yeah. Well, I was really keen to get to meet you and chat with you because you're still in traditional bricks and mortar retail, aren't you? And
Yes, I am, yeah.
that's my kind of history, really. Well, it's my kind of present as well with the clothing shop. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Is it a gaming sort of Warhammer, that sort of shop? What sort of stuff do you actually sell there?
Well, it's basically we're called a friendly local gaming store. So basically, we supply hobbies where people can come and play games in store, like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Games Workshop, and board games and lots of other sort of like just hobby related sort of like games. We also do all like the accessories for all of the games that I just mentioned, and we also run regular tournaments on a weekly basis in store.
Fantastic. We used to do the cards. We didn't do Warhammer because there was another stockist in town and there was a bit of an issue. But we used to do Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. And I used to run Friday Night Magic and set up Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. This is going back about 6-7 years now. So do you play those yourself, or do you just sell the?
Well, I was like I used to play sort of Warhammer as a kid, and when I got into sort of like my college years, I started playing Warhammer again to just make some new friends because we moved to Cornwall and from Luton, and then I kind of just like got into doing the shop, sort of became my profession, and then soon after that the cards kind of got introduced like through like customers coming in and ask us to sell them, and I just started playing cards as well. So it was kind of a progression for me from like hobby to sort of like shop and selling basically.
Yeah, when we started our shop, we were kind of like a CEX is how I describe it, and we were pretty much computer games, CDs and DVDs, but we kept getting kids coming in asking for Magic and Pokemon, so I just set up an account with Estevium. I don't know if you use Estevium.
Yeah, they're
do you use those?
main supply. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic firm, amazing, such friendly people, and yeah, it just blew up. It's huge for us. And when I started doing tournaments, yeah, it was amazing. And that was a big part of our income. And we used to do, you're probably the same, do thousands and thousands of used cards and have folders full of rares and all this stuff. Do you do that?
Yeah, these are sort of like some of our cards. Me and a lad sorted out our cards a little while ago, and we reckon we have over 1 million cards in store.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we didn't kind of count them all, but we have them in boxes of like 5 or 2,500, and we just stacked them all up and kind of went through them, and there's about 18 years worth of like cards collected here.
Wow. Is that what got you into the online, or were you doing online selling before the shop, or is that just supplementing what you do there? How did that work for you?
Well, I never actually did online reselling at all up until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I had a real kind of like issue with like deep discounting internet sellers that sell the kind of products we sell, and they were basically kind of using us as a platform to sell their products to like customers that we were kind of generating. So I always had a kind of like my own issue with like internet sellers, and then I kind of thought, well, that's stupid. I need to start doing this myself. So like a lot of my products I don't sell on the internet still, but because the profit margins are just not that great after you take out all your fees and everything, trying to compete with the internet sellers, like the deep discounting stores and things. So I kind of pick and choose what I pop on there.
Yeah.
And like, there was no real reason why I got into the internet selling. It was just like I suppose it was just another avenue to try and generate some cash flow for us. A lot of the items we sell in store can go out of print and then become quite valuable. And they don't often sell in store at that high premium. So I found that we'd offer them to our customers first, and then if they didn't want them, got to a point where they had their kind of fill of it, that's when we'd move to online selling it and put a premium price on it.
Yeah. Do you find, I found a little bit with Magic in particular, because I'd buy collections, the real premium high-end values and the shinies and stuff. My regulars wouldn't pay 20, 30 quid a card, but I could put it on eBay and it'd be gone within a day. So I used to do a lot of that. Do you do any Magic online?
Yeah, we do a little bit. Some of the singles sealed product that kind of goes like skyrockets in price.
Yeah.
A similar thing to certain customers that will spend like a premium on an item, but we try to offer get the RRP to our regular customers, because obviously we want to support them. We want them to come into the store regularly, but after that, they kind of go of it. Then we keep the rest back, and then we sell them at the premium price, and they do tend to go quite quickly. And it's things that wouldn't necessarily sell in the shop quickly. They'd sit around for quite a long time. So yeah, we try and get as much on there as we can.
Yeah, sounds very similar to what I used to do. I mean, with Estevium, most of the products we would just buy for in-store, like your boosters and your decks and stuff, and all of the folders and everything. And there was no way you could compete with the online sellers because the margin just wasn't there. But kind of special edition Pokemon stuff and figures, yeah, I used to put those on eBay at Christmas, and it was crazy, the turnover on that sort of thing. But yeah,
we have a new set that's just come out called Generation, like to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Pokemon.
Is it 25 years?
Yeah. So this is one of them.
Yeah.
They like recommended retail price is $12.99, and like people are asking a premium of like £25 already. We've sold out to pre-order on this one in store, so all of our copies went for $12.99. This is a reserved one for someone, so they haven't come and collected it yet. But we've had other sets where we got quite a lot, and we made sure pre-orders had them. Then some of our customers had them in store, and then the rest have just gone on eBay now. So
yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Juggling, keeping your regular customers happy, but then part of you is thinking I could get twice as much, if not more, online. Yeah, and also, do you want to hold that stuff back for a year and sell it in a year's time, make forward as much? I used to do that with Magic a little bit, but it's a risky game. Well, it's not risky, but you've got to have so much money tied up in the stock.
Yeah, it's true. We have a lot of money tied up in old stock that we're saving, and some of it does get a really good price on it, so it's worth doing. But then, like, one set of Magic can be really good, and it just goes up and up and up in value, and then the next set is awful, and it just goes down and down and down in value. And to make a profit out of it, you're probably going to have to sit on it for 10 years, or maybe even longer to get your money back. And the profit margins are so slight with competing with these internet stores. I mean, they're sometimes less than 10% margin on some of the bulkier items. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I almost went down the route of, and I know a lot of people, well, not personally, but I've seen the stores and know their business model of just buying up boxes and selling the rares and selling complete sets of commons and this stuff. There's a business model just straight out of the box there. But I would have got too bored doing it. That's half my trouble anyway. I don't know if you're the same. I've got so many fingers in different pies, and just selling trading cards would have sent me batty, I think. But yeah, there's plenty of money in that, just breaking down boosters.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of internet stores, lots of stores that actually just break down like booster boxes and then just sell all the single cards. I haven't really ever done that. I often buy in like secondhand collections or bulk collections and try and break them that way. Because I find that there's kind of just like more there, and it's a bit more interesting, and you can find all these like great cards that you would never find in like a new box. And I just, even though we have a lot of staff, it's mainly come from sort of like secondhand collections. I'm the same as you. I don't think I could sit there just cracking box after box after box and just storing cards and just listing cards all the time. It would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that, buying up Magic in bulk. When we had the shop, I'd buy it direct from the public that way. In recent years, I've just bought huge collections off eBay and then split them. I've kind of stopped doing that because I don't have the time. Now I have a shop as well. So, but I used to do just like Magic in bundles of 100, just 100 black or 100 white or whatever, and they were turning over so fast. But I've stopped doing that because I don't have the time. But I still have, I dread to think how many thousands of Magic cards just stacked up at home.
Cool. I used to do the bundles with Pokemon cards. So I do 100 Pokemon cards for, I think it was £9.95, and that included postage. And we could make up like 100 bundles in a couple of days, but then they'd be gone in the next 7 days. So the time was just like completely eaten up by just prepping all these bundles. Because we used to make sure we didn't duplicate any cards and things. So they're really selling. They do take up an awful lot of time.
Yeah, I found with that, with my Magic one, it took a long time to get going, but I had it on a good till cancelled. And initially I was getting very few sales because I was asking for what it was, I was asking a fair amount of money. But once I got those sales, and my listing got right up the top. So if you search Magic the Gathering, there would be my 100 pack bundle. And I got to the point where I was selling loads. It was hard to keep up with it. But there's not big money in it, but the commons, it kind of paid for the bundles, and where I'd pull out all the decent stuff and then I'd cream all of that off and sell the rares and you know, but super time consuming, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, this is why we started prepping the bundles before we sold them. I got to a point where all I was doing was making up 100 bundles continually, and trying to play catch up with the sold ones. So then we kind of flipped it round, but then you'd sell through those bundles so quickly, and then you'd be like, well, I've got no time to make any more. So I haven't done bundles for almost a year now, but again, mine were right up the top. You know, if you search Pokemon, mine was right there, ready to be bought, which it was great, but it was a bit of a nightmare, really.
So what are you finding with your reselling? How much of your time is that taking up, or is it really almost like a glorified hobby, or is it a big part of your business now?
Like, it's probably a glorified hobby, to be honest. But it is part of the business now. It does it does take up a bit of my time. I would like to devote more time to the reselling from the car boots and, you know, the secondhand items I buy. But I just find the shop is so time consuming with arranging tournaments and running events, ordering stock takes, you know, everything that goes with running a shop. I just don't get the time to like get the stuff listed. I can go out and buy it, that's fine, not a problem, but actually getting it listed, photographed, and, you know, just nice descriptions is an absolute nightmare for me.
I can imagine. I sympathise completely. I know exactly where you're at. I've had a very similar shop, and I think people who haven't run a retail outlet don't understand the 101 things you have to do. You said you have staff. I mean, just managing staff is a full-time job, let alone dealing with your suppliers, answering the phone every 10 minutes, people trying to sell you rubbish you don't want. It's like, oh, endless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky because like my staff are my family. So
oh, right.
My wife works with me. My mum comes and helps in the shop, and my dad kind of floats around the shop every now and again. I pretty much I self-sufficiently kind of run the business, and my mum comes in on a Saturday and a Monday and sort of like helps with like restocking after the weekend, and then just kind of mans the till on a Monday and a Saturday, so I can be outside running the events. And my wife has recently started coming into the shop full time, because my children are both in full-time education now. So she comes in from Monday to Friday, 9 till whenever they need picking up, basically. And she does most of my listing on the collectible cards now.
That's really cool. I mean, we had a similar kind of thing. So it was myself and my wife, and then my niece used to work with us on Saturdays. We did have other staff members over the 8 years we had our shop, but we found trusting just random members of the public. Obviously, we kind of vetted them, but we were stitched up so many times and we were stolen from, and we found hiring people that weren't family was very, very stressful. So yeah, I can understand how you've ended up with it as you do.
Yeah, I mean, I have had like quite recently, I had a lad working for me who I've known since he was about 7. He's been coming to the shop as like a customer for years, and he just wanted some extra money, and we had him in the shop for 16 hours a week, just like sorting cards and that kind of thing. But it just got kind of a bit too much for him, because it was just so constant, and it's just such a monotonous job, and it was just constantly sorting more cards, and then he'd get through a bunch of cards, and then I'd give him more cards to sort, and then someone would come in with like a collection of like 20 cards, and we'd say like, right, we've got to sort this, and he was just like, and and I was like, is this just getting a bit too much for you? And he was just like, yeah, I don't think I can do it in college anymore. So we had to sort of let him go. But it's very difficult to kind of get anyone. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that would do it, but it's just how long they would do it for. And then obviously if they're not at college, then you've got to employ them properly, and then it starts getting very complicated, and I just don't kind of want to get involved with all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, employing people is not only complicated paperwork wise, but it's incredibly expensive, and to be put simply. And yeah, and also with this sort of jobs, I would imagine you would want to give your staff, like the sorting of cards. It's almost like a form of torture, sorting cards. I mean, I'm that kind of person that enjoys that sort of methodical sorting process. That's why I love Lego and Magic and all of that sort of thing. But when I've done it for 3 or 4 hours straight, I go slightly nutty.
Yeah. I mean, literally, there aren't a lot of jobs in here that I think I could give someone to do without like fully training them up. So most of the jobs that I would need someone for are quite monotonous, and they're just going to be the same every single day, and I don't know if I even want to put that on someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we're going to be employing anyone anytime soon. But hopefully by the time my kids are slightly older, they may want to come in and start helping in the shop, and that'll be great.
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So going back to go on.
My daughter plays Pokemon already, and my son's interested in playing. He's 5 and she's 8, so we've got a few years yet, but hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fantastic. It's the sort of thing you do have to have a certain amount of interest in to just kind of understand what it's all about. You can't just get anyone in a gaming store like that, because it'd just be a totally alien environment. So yeah.
We asked a lot about jobs, and like, oh, do you have any jobs going? And we're like, well, what's kind of your experience with all these hobbies? And they're like, well, I bought some Pokemon cards. You're like, okay, but do you know anything about anything? And they're like, not really. And it's like, oh, okay. Where do you go from there, really? So yeah, you do need like a special person that knows a lot about all the different hobbies, and the training that they need will far outweigh how good they'll be like helping the shop and making it money, I think, at the moment. So.
Yeah, it sounds like you've it sets up well with the family. You can trust family, and family tend to be more reliable on the whole than random staff members. So no, it sounds perfect to me. I was going to say about the reselling. I've obviously watched your videos, so I kind of know what you pick up. But what sort of stuff finding, and where do you tend to find it?
Well, funnily enough, I pick up most of the stuff you pick up actually. When I first started sort of like trying to get into reselling, I was just buying the kind of things that I was interested in, which was like board games, Lego, collectible cards, like old retro gaming and that kind of thing. And then I kind of stumbled across your videos and I was like, hey, this guy collects the same stuff I collect, you know, to sell. I don't really bother with the media. I'm not particularly good with that. But yeah, like toys, Lego, Nerf guns, you know, anything like that is kind of what I like to pick up. And I kind of mainly pick it up from like 2 local car boots. Like pretty much all of my stuff comes from, like, there's one down at the like council offices on a Sunday, and then shortly after that there's another one like just down the road from it that starts an hour later, and pretty much most of my stuff comes from there. In the summer we get a couple of bigger car boots, like out in the middle of a field in nowhere, like on the A30, and that's about it really. So like, yeah, most of my stuff is pretty much sourced from those 3 car boots. And the one down the council office is an all year car boot. So it just like every week without fail, unless it's like raining bad or whatever, we're down there just grabbing everything. So that's kind of where I get it all from.
Yeah. Does your other half go with you sourcing, or do you take the kids? How does it work with that side?
No, my wife is not really into my reselling. My kids like it because they get loads of toys. So in the summer they'll both come with me. In the winter, like they say the night before, oh, can I come? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then you know, I go into there at 6:30 and I'm like, you come in? And they're like, no, go away. So I end up down there on my own.
When it's pitch black and freezing cold.
Yeah, they're not into that sort of thing. Not even for the toys. They just normally when I come in, they're at the top of the stairs, like waiting for me to come in. Did you get me anything? Did you get me anything? And I'm like, not this week, maybe next week. But yeah, my wife's not into it at all, unfortunately. She actually hates car boots. So
fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm quite lucky in that respect, that Andrea has always been, you know, 100% involved. When we started reselling back in the late 90s and then went full time in 2002, we'd both go out and pick up the same stuff. Now Andrea's doing the clothing. But she started coming out to boot sales again now, so she's picking up, you know, the better, higher quality stuff that she can find at car boot sales. So yeah, she's quite into it, which is a relief.
Yeah, I kind of wish my wife was, because then we, you know, it'd be like we could get twice as much stuff. We could be in 2 places at once. But she just doesn't have the sort of like the interest in the reselling that way. She's quite happy to come in and list the items that I'm sort of like giving her to list, but she doesn't really know what to look for, or, you know, what's going to resell. She's not that way inclined to look at things, I don't think. She's not a buyer reseller, she's a purchaser, you know, just like a lot of people are.
Yeah. So,
you know, I look at a bag of Lego and I think, ooh, there's some money there. She looks at a bag of Lego and thinks that's going to be in my way in the house. you know, so
yeah. I think reselling is a way, almost like a way of looking at the world, really. I think it's kind of in you to start with. It's something you can learn, but if you don't have that natural instinct to buy something and sell it for more, I don't know if you can train yourself to be that way. I mean, yeah, most of the guys that I've chatted to on these videos, we all have a similar thing. It's hard to put your finger on it, but we all share something strange about us.
Yeah, I think my kind of like reselling sort of ways come from kind of when I was younger and we didn't have much money, so I couldn't sort of like get the toys I wanted and stuff like that. So I always used to have to try and go out and try and earn money and sort of like sell things to get money. So, you know, like I had a few jobs when I was quite young, and I think it's that drive that pushes you to want to buy things to resell them. You know, you have your collectors keep things, but then you have like us guys that want to get it. We have it for a bit, and then we're happy to just kind of like shift it on and make the money out of it, and then like move on to the next thing. And yeah, like you say, I don't think everyone's got that kind of ability to try and like look at something and think, oh, that's going to be worth money. You just look at it, you know, and I think, yeah, you're right. There is something, but I don't know what it is in particular.
Yeah, that's interesting you said that. It's very similar to my story, because we weren't like super poor, but the money wasn't really there to say, you know, the new Game Boy's out, can I have one, Mum, you know, or this. I had to work my socks off doing 3 or 4 paper rounds, and I worked at a dairy and all of this to buy the stuff. And then I was so aware of its real value. So when I then wanted to upgrade, like from Game Boy to Super Nintendo, it was the case of, I'm going to have to get the most I can out of this. So I treated my stuff with respect, and when I saw its true value, and I wanted to get its true value, and I think that's what stayed with me. I see a lot of people, well, having our shop, people used to come in and were almost happy to get whatever I would offer them for it. Whereas myself, I would work out what was the maximum I could get and squeeze the most out of it. And I think that's what I learned at a very young age, because I didn't have the money to spend. So I had to learn very quickly how to make the most of what I had. And I think that's just stayed with me.
Yeah, I think that's probably the same for me as well. It's just like, I do see it quite regularly. People come in, they're like, I need some money. I'm just going to sell you all this cool old stuff that, you know, like I bought or whatever. And you're just like, really? You know, don't you want to spend the time selling that yourself to get like the proper money? And they're just like, no, I can't be bothered. I haven't got the time. Yeah. It's like, well, I've got the time, so well, I don't have the time, but you know what I mean. I'll spend the time to list it to make that extra money. Yeah, I again myself, I don't think like I would have been getting kind of rid of all of my stuff so cheap. I'll always be looking for what personally, even before doing the reselling, like what I could get most out of my stuff. And also my mum gave away all my toys when I was a kid, that I did have, which was so she gave them all to my cousin. So like all my He-Man toys, most of these came from like charity shops anyway, but like He-Man toys, Transformers and things like that. And so I'm trying to find these toys while I'm going around these car boots. I won't keep them. I'll still sell them, but it would be nice to just have them again once or twice, you know, to look at.
It's so funny. It's like we've been living parallel lives, because my mum, I used to collect when I was pre-teen or around sort of 13, 14, I was into Zoids. Do you remember Zoids?
Yeah, I had one Zoid.
Oh, I had a great collection of those, and I had a fair amount of vintage Star Wars stuff and various other things, and it all just vanished. And most of it was given to my cousin, and God only knows what he did with it. And yeah, it's the same story. I regret that happening, but I had no control over it really. But yeah, that's so funny.
I remember coming home from I don't know, school or something, and my mum was like, "Oh, I've given all your toys away to your cousin," and I was just like, "Yeah, whatever," you know, because I turned into a teenager or whatever. And then
exactly.
I was just like 5, 6 years later, I was just like, I want them all back. And yeah, can't have them.
Yeah, about sort of, I don't know, 14, 15, I discovered music in a big way, and then girls. And it was like, who the hell needs Star Wars toys? And then, like you say, another sort of roll on 10 years, and I was livid that I didn't have them anymore.
Yeah.
I was going to say I had Club Nintendo magazines from the first issue. I was a massive Nintendo fan from the first black and white Game Boy, and I was a member of Club Nintendo, and I had every magazine and all of the you know, the old magazines, like there was Total Nintendo and CMVG and all this stuff, and I had them all in boxes in the loft, and they all just vanished. And I'd love to get those back.
Maybe you will one day.
Yeah.
Do you think if you got them back, you'd keep them or you'd sell them?
I don't know. I have almost bought a collection. I used to love a magazine called Total Nintendo, and I almost bought a collection of those. And I think what I would do would be binge on them for a month and read through it all, and then just sell them on. I struggled to, weirdly, I was always a collector and a bit of a hoarder, but that has been replaced by turning over stock. I still love finding it. I don't have the hoarder thing anymore because I love turning it over and sending it out the door. So yeah, I don't really collect anymore, weirdly.
Yeah, I don't know if I was going to collect Pez's, because I came Pez's at car boots, but then I was like, I'll just sell them. Like I collect Magic the Gathering. I do a version of that. So I kind of just like keep the sets of and then just sell everything else off. But yeah, collecting is difficult. I mean, I have a lot of stuff around me, so that probably like is why I don't feel like I need to collect anything, because there's like everything's always there, and then I sell a bunch and then get a bunch more. So I guess that takes up the whole collecting thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did for me. When I turned my, you know, being a kind of geek into my living, I turned my need to find things and collect things into a way of making money. That satisfies that itch. All this stuff you see around me, I would have thoroughly enjoyed finding it and buying it, but then I sell it on. So yeah, I think it's great. Basically turning, like what you've done, you've turned your hobby and your passion into a way of making money, and I think it's great.
Yeah. Can I show you something I got at the boot this weekend?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Like, I don't know a lot about these. I just saw them and picked them up because I thought they were cool, which is kind of what I do at the car boot. I don't really do a lot of like looking on my phone and stuff. I picked up these guys. I don't know if this is going to be very clear. I don't know if you can see that.
Was that Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, these are like really old Planet of the Apes models. So like
Cool.
I picked up like 10 of them off a guy. He wanted like £7 a model, but I managed to knock him down to £4 a model. I don't know anything about this guy, but I've done a bit of research since, and it turns out they can be quite expensive. So that was I haven't done a haul video yet, so I just wanted to show those. Like,
yeah,
I just think they're really cool. Like,
I've never seen those before at all.
They're fully articulated, like knees, like ankles, wrists, elbows.
Yeah,
it's just really cool. I used to watch a guy called Car Boot Collector, and that guy's a genius. He knows everything about figures. So I'll probably chat to him at some point to see if he knows anything about these. Oh, it says something on the back of this guy's 1972.
Oh wow, older than me.
Yeah, century court. So yeah, they're pretty old, but there's a guy at my car boot that comes in with just like bundles of really old toys, and he had these, so I managed to snaffle them up. So they're quite cool. So I'll be dealing with those next week. Sorry if I've gone off on one.
No, that's cool. No, they look really, really fabulous. So it's interesting you're saying that you don't tend to look things up. I do an awful lot of that. I went to the car boot last weekend, and I went to the early one, and my phone was out of charge. It was like I'd lost an arm. I've got so reliant on it, which is weird because for years, obviously, I didn't have that. You know, when we first started this, we were just not buying blind because we built a lot of, since I've really got into using eBay app, and more for me now, the Amazon app. I'm just scanning and looking up everything. Obviously, if I know, I just take a chance, and quite often I will take a punt on something. But yeah, I've become a complete phone addict.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've always got my phone on me, so if I do need to check something, I can check it, and I often will after I bought something. But I kind of like knowing that I've kind of picked something just through you know, just some sort of sense that it's going to be worth something. I find that much more appealing than looking it up on my phone. Oh, that's £10, right? Cool, I'll pay £1 for it. I just really like the after sort of like getting it home, looking through it and going, oh my God, these are really expensive. That's awesome.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, going through a haul one by one and just looking it up, and that satisfying feeling that you've achieved what you set out to do.
Yeah.
Talking about looking things up, I tend to, with eBay, I tend to look up the stuff where it's maybe a £10 purchase, and that's a lot of money to take a punt on when it could be worth nothing online. So I tend to, with eBay, I tend to look up the higher end things. With Amazon, with media, the margins can be so slim anyway. I tend to scan most things. I went mad at the weekend. I've got about 3 stacks here of media, and most of it's sealed. And this stuff will just be scanned, stick a label on it, and go straight to Amazon. And that's become an ever bigger part of what I do now. And it just makes sense to me because my time is divided up with the shop. So I see myself almost as the part-time reseller now, similar to you, because I struggle for time. So FBA has been a revelation, really. So that's working well.
Yeah, I've never really scanned, like I scanned some DVDs once, but I felt a right idiot, like, because they were just like worth nothing. So I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? And so I was just like, so I quickly put them down and just went to find the toys again, because, you know, like if I see an old toy, I know it's, you know, I know it's old, like, I don't know why, but I just know, you know, Thundercats, I suppose because I'm from the 80s, I know all the cool 80s stuff. So I know what I'm looking for. Like I could sit and look through media for hours and I wouldn't have a clue what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Like I know it's a CD, I know it's a DVD, but I can guarantee you I'd buy everything wrong and leave all the good stuff behind. I suppose that's why I don't really scan much, because you don't get barcodes on things like those figures I just showed you. You know, no. So you know.
I just lost your pitch. Oh, you're back now, I think. But yeah, with media, I get a lot of questions on my channel. People will literally say this to me. They'll say, Nick, which DVDs and CDs should I be picking up? And it's like, hang on, there's what, 50 million, I don't know, CDs and DVDs out there. It's not like I can't answer that question. And then people ask me, how do I know which ones to pick up? Because a lot of them I will just pick up anyway because I know. Yeah. And I try to explain to them, I've been working in record shops since 1996. I've had my own record stores. I've had a gaming store. I've just got this kind of library of knowledge. And it also, like you were saying about toys, you end up somehow knowing. I can see a CD that I don't even know the artist or the genre or whatever, and I would somehow know it will have value. Like you'll see a toy and you'll instantly know, even if you've not seen that brand, you'll go, that's 80s, just by the plastic, by the colors. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's similar with media. I just have an encyclopedic knowledge, although I do scan a lot of it to see if it's still worth anything on Amazon. Yeah, it's interesting that people think somehow there's knowledge that I could impart in them in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen. There's 25 years worth of knowledge up here.
I get asked a lot about the collectible cards. How do I know which ones are expensive? And it's like, you know, there's no way of me answering that.
Or you could just say, well, play with cards for 15 years and you might learn it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of it, really, isn't it? You know, I've been playing and like selling Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh since 1998. So, you know, like a fair few years. Yeah, so it's kind of like second nature now. I see a Yu-Gi-Oh card, I know instantly if it's worth nothing or, you know, £10. So, yeah, it can be helpful and tell people, but I don't think you can. You just have to know.
Yeah, and it's with cards as well. It's not like you can at a boot sale rummage through and look a few up. You have to be able to scan through and just know as you go. I mean, I could scan through a load of Magic and tell you how many rares are there within seconds, because you know, and your brain is focused on that symbol, and you can just riffle through and say, okay, so they haven't taken all the rares out. It's worth negotiating. But yeah, I don't know, trying to explain that sort of stuff to people, it's another language. Totally is.
Yeah, I agree.
I've kind of run out of questions. Did you have anything you wanted to ask me, Vinny, or?
Well, the only thing, like, because I've watched most of your videos, so I feel like I know you really well anyway.
Yeah.
But the one question I did, because I still think of myself as quite a novice on the whole like eBay and everything. But I was speaking to someone the other day about the global shipping program, GSP. Do you
Yeah.
use that?
Yes. I
Yeah.
used to do my own international shipping. Oh, just sold something. I used to do my own international shipping, and then I had loads of problems with things not turning up. So I was having to quote people for signed for, and then it was really expensive, and it's a right faff to get international signed for done. So I signed up to GSP and put it on pretty much everything that I sell. And that works really well for me because there's no stress involved. The fees can be really high. I don't know if you saw that video I put out the other day where someone bought some snowflakes, the Lego snowflakes, and then paid like £15 shipping. It's like, what? Yeah. So it does put a lot of buyers off. But I'm only responsible for getting it from here to the warehouse in Derbyshire, wherever it is, or Nottinghamshire. And then eBay, you know, they're responsible for the whole international leg, and it's sent, signed for, and tracked. So it takes all of the hassle out of it. And somebody was telling me the other day, you can put the exact weight and dimension into your listing. So then the GSP charge is relative to the size and weight, which I haven't been doing. So that might help.
Now this might sound a bit stupid, so kind of forgive me if it does, but if I'm selling something like, I don't know, say I'm selling this cup, and then someone buys it from Spain, would they pay me any postage to cover the postage I have to pay to send it to Nottingham, or does that completely come out of my fee?
They would buy it as if they're in the UK. So for example, if I listed a CD, I'd list that with 99p postage probably, because it'll go as a large letter. If you're in Spain and you buy that, you pay my shipping to get it to the Nottingham warehouse. And then there's a separate arrangement between the buyer and eBay where they pay them whatever eBay decides to get that from the warehouse to Spain. And that's a separate thing. So I still get my £5 and 99p or whatever it was. And the whole chunk that eBay take, I don't see that, obviously. eBay take that and pay their shipping company.
Okay, so
if that makes sense.
Much a no-brainer. Yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer then, really. Like,
it works for me. A lot of people moan about it because the fees that eBay charge can be a lot higher than it would actually cost you to send it yourself. But, you know, the buyer can see what they're going to pay up front. So if they choose to do it, then they've accepted that already, and it's not my problem. So it works for me.
Yeah, you know, I send all my stuff abroad, signed for and tracked, like everything.
Right.
Doesn't matter how inexpensive it is. I always send it tracked, because when I first started, I was sending items abroad and they were just like disappearing sort of left, right, and center. So
yeah,
for me, like my fees abroad are quite high anyway. So I think it might be a better thing for me to do the GSP, maybe.
Yeah. Well, another reason it works for me is I have an online business account with the Royal Mail. So I work on average weights. So the more stuff I can send within the UK, it tends to be a benefit to me, because my average weight can come down, and I can send something that's 2.5 kilos and get it sent for £2.50, because the average will be less than a kilo. So it really works for me to send stuff within the UK. And if I was separating out all of these things and doing them international, it's another faff, and it's not easy to do that through my online account as well. So yeah, it just, on a number of levels, it just makes sense for me, and I'm all for an easy life. I've got too much to do. If something makes my life easier, I'm like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah. I kind of get stuck in my ways and then don't try new things, which is one of my problems. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video chat, because like I was so like nervous about doing it. I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it. But it's definitely, you know, you have to try these new things out, and I definitely want to try the GSP. I've got to sort out a Royal Mail account as well, because they phoned me up and spoke about that. But it's just the thought of change for me is just like, because I'm so set in my ways, I'm doing things so like methodically. You know, the way I list things, the way I post things, changing that, is that going to make me slow down a lot? And then am I going to have to sort of like relearn a new way? And is that going to take ages and all my time up? And it just kind of like worries me to change. But more than often, it's better to do the change and get better or quicker or faster. So
yeah, I understand that. I'm still ploughing on using. I use Apple Macs, and so there's no Turbo Lister doesn't work on Apple Macs. So I bought a program called Garage Sale, which I use to do all my listing, but it's so buggy and it's driving me nuts. It just screws things up, and I lose data and this, that, and the other, and it's become really slow. So I need to switch to another program, either use Auctiva or just go back to using eBay. But I've got into such a habit of using this program, even though it drives me to distraction, I'm still using it. And I need to just say bollocks to it. I'm just gonna, and also because I paid like £70 for this program X amount of years ago. So I feel obliged, because I'm a tight bastard, I feel obliged to use it.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I like, change for me is just like it's probably one of my downfalls, is that when I just get into something, I just stick at doing it the same way all the time, and I'm probably just like missing so many benefits. I mean, do you use like that Garage Sale? Is that for eBay listing?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I literally just list all of my stuff like on my iPhone. That's it. I don't use any sort of turbo listers or anything. So, you know, maybe there's something I could get into at some point, but the thought of using them just like freaks me out.
I've listed using my iPhone, and they've made it so it is quite slick and quite easy and intuitive to do. The main advantage of using a program is that you can have loads of templates set up, ready to go. You can embed pictures within your description and make it look all fancy. And not, I think that has a big advantage, but it just makes you perhaps stand out from the crowd a bit. But yeah, I mean, I may yet go back to just listing straight on eBay, because yeah, this program is driving me nuts.
I watched a YouTube video. Someone posted it on Facebook the other day, where a guy was saying about like 60% of people are buying through their iPhones now, and you should keep your listings as simple as you can with no templates or photos in the pictures, because they don't work on the phones very well. So I'm currently going through all of my listings now, making them extremely basic on the description. And as I started doing that, I tended to notice that the ones that I was changing and making it easy to read were selling a little bit quicker than the ones that had a lot of sort of like extra stuff in the description, because I used to put like my postage costs, extra things about returns and all this kind of thing in my description. And this chap was saying, you know, take them all away. They're all there on the phone app anyway. You don't need all this stuff in your description. And as I was putting up these like new items and the ones I was changing the descriptions in, I was finding they were just selling quicker. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is something, you know. So I'm kind of working through my 900 listings at the moment, every time they finish, and just making the descriptions much tighter and smaller, so I don't have all this kind of guff in there. So I don't know, maybe that's something to think about.
That is certainly something to think about, and I've heard that from other people as well. When someone mentioned it to me, I went in on my iPhone and looked at my own listings, and they seem to be working fine. But I suppose the issue is you've got Android and you've got all the other different phones, and they can't all display it properly, I suppose. So yeah, that's food for thought. I may have to look into that one.
Yeah, maybe try a couple of items and see if it has any difference. I mean, I don't know whether it really does, but it felt like it did. So, you know, I'm just going to continue. And also it makes listing a lot quicker, because I used to put all my postage costs in my description. I used to have to change them there, then I had to change them in there as well, and now I only have to change them once rather than twice. And sometimes I used to forget to change them in the description, and then people would be like, oh, it says less in the description, so I'd then have to like charge less or charge more, or so it just makes things a lot easier for me. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. I keep my descriptions to the bare bones, really.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be much of a change for me. I just get rid of these fancy pants templates and do it the old-fashioned way. So yeah, I may well have a go at that. You might have convinced me.
Oh, actually, another thing I wanted to say about was like postage. What's your opinions on like free postage and not free postage?
I tend to have postage as an additional cost. Apart from media, where it's almost become the norm and people expect it to be free postage, but I just add it in. You know, I add my pound or whatever it is into the cost. But anything else, like the toys and games you see up here, I pretty much have a standard $2.99 postage on them all. But the one thing I do add is I have an automated shipping discount set up within eBay. So if somebody buys that Disney Cars thing and that Gremlin, they'll just pay $2.99 for the pair. And that's already automated. So as long as they check them out together, they get the free shipping. And with Lego that I do a fair bit of, that just encourages multi-purchase. If you have free shipping on your item, they can never get any discount or any benefit from buying lots of stuff from you. So I'm pretty much an advocate of adding your shipping on. I don't see that has a big effect with the search result thing. I'm sure it does have a little bit, but I don't have any trouble selling stuff, put it that way. And if you talk to Ken Chapman about it, he's just completely adamant it makes no bloody difference whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I do I actually do free shipping on everything, but I do factor in the postage costs on top of my item. So like with the that's typical. Hang on.
All right.
Phone's ringing. I'll just hang up. Sorry. Couldn't have been a ka-ching, could it? Yeah, I like the cards, the collectible cards, everyone expects them to kind of be free. So we just do free postage on all of them anyway, but then I kind of like all my other items I do free postage on and then just factor in the postage costs. And like you say about the getting the discount for multiple purchases, but I also have best offers on all of my items as well. So if people do want to purchase like a lot of cards off me or, you know, a few toys or whatever, they can ask for best offers and that kind of thing. The only sort of downside is when they ask you for best offers on sort of 4 things and then you accept like you give them sort of like a counter offer and then they accept one and then they don't take any of the other cards or any of the other toys and then you're like, oh damn it. You know, so they get a discount for buying one thing when you really wanted them to buy 4. So that can kind of be so I normally write in the description now that you can have it at this price if you buy all 4. But sometimes they still purchase it and then go, oh sorry, I didn't realize, and you're like, you know.
Yeah, I had that once and it was frustrating as hell because I'd given them a good deal and allowed them to take one considerably less if they were buying this one at this amount. And then of course, just like you described, they just bought the really cheap one. I was like, well, hang on. It's like I couldn't get out of it. It's like, and I felt like I'd been scammed. You know, it felt like they saw me coming. Oh dear. Anyway, I don't know when we kicked off. It was about 6, was it?
Maybe, yeah.
I think we've been on for an hour. It's amazing how quick these go.
Yeah.
So were your fears of chatting live on the internet founded, or was that okay?
I don't think I made too much of a plonker of myself, so that was probably okay actually.
Yeah, it's all good. It's funny because when I started doing these chats, it feels such a weird alien thing. And yeah, it was quite nerve-wracking. I remember Caroline, who I had on one of my chats, was really nervous about it as well. So it's not unusual.
Cool.
But anyway, I think we should wrap that up and I need to go and get some dinner.
Yes, me too, actually.
But it's been a pleasure. And with me, it was fascinating to find a bit more about your business. And I kind of miss my old gaming shop and being involved directly with the cards and you know, all of that stuff. So it was nice talking to you.
Well, maybe you can live a bit of it through me still. So
yeah, and if you ever get short of magic cards, I have 10 or 20,000 that need a new home.
I'll buy them in at a penny a card if you want to sell them.
Ooh, it's on the commons maybe. I'll just send you all my common crap.
Yeah, I'll buy all that. Yeah, just send it my way.
Okay, I'll have a think about that. I'll send you a message.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting with me, Vinny, and I appreciate that a lot. And we'll keep in touch.
Yeah. Cheers, Nick.
Cheers, mate.